Hello, it's your Hauntie Sam here with Starcatcher Paranormal, and I am here with another story time for you guys. So the last time I read you a story about the haunted hotel that my mom worked at, and again I swore, because at this point I was interested in ghosts, and was sitting there like, surely I must have written something down. I still didn't, and I'm still mad about it. I don't have but one other instance, literally, let me find it actually. Okay, here we go. 10/11/2018. I had a thing happen this morning. I thought Josh went upstairs. Even Stormy reacted. No one was awake outside of myself and Dad. That is it. That is the only mention of anything spooky outside of me talking about the hotel, and I don't know why. But anyways, I lived with my dad a couple years ago from like March of 2023 to January of 2024. A little context for my dad's house and where he lived and what the area was like. The neighborhood that we lived in was literally on the edge of the desert. I mean, his backyard was just desert as far as you could see. It wasn't uncommon to literally have wildlife in your yard. We've seen bobcats, saw a javelina once. That was kind of scary. I was more scared of the javelina than I was, a bobcat or a puma or something like that. Got coyotes all the time. You can hear them having a little party outside. Owls. We always had all types of owls everywhere. Those evil. What the heck are they called? They're called many things, but it's like wind scorpion, sun spider, camel spider. Hated those things. Of all the things that I've ever faced out in that desert, that is the worst one. I will never ever do that again. Ever in my whole life. I can do big spiders. Okay? I can do tarantulas. I can do scorpions. Don't you ever bring a camel spider to me. I will pass away. I hate those things. Anyways, way off topic. The desert. For context, like nothing is around. And at this point, I had dealt with a lot of things, a lot of different types of entities. I've lived with a demon, I've lived with spirits, I've lived with ghosts, I've had attachments, I've had entities where I don't know what they're called or what their purpose is, but I know they're not a human spirit. I've had spirits of animals in my life, but this one was new. And I believe what I was dealing with was a mimic. It was before they really started coming up more in social media. I hadn't really heard of a mimic before that, or even if that is its real name. Whatever the case may be. There was one particular night that I had a migraine, and so I was laying down for most of the day, and at some point I came out and made myself dinner really quickly, and then went to lay down for a little bit, and then came out to put my food away. At this point, it was about 10 o'clock in the evening that I was putting my food away. My stepmom always left the light of the kitchen hood on, so I still could see. But typically at that point, my parents were sort of winding down, so if my dad wasn't at his computer, he was in bed, or if my stepmom wasn't on the couch, like doing a craft or just kind of scrolling through her phone, she was also in bed. Either way, the house was typically dark by 10 p.m. No lights but the kitchen hood. So it's 10 p.m. and the house is dark, and I'm putting my food away in a container, and I hear, "Hey, are you feeling okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just kind of have a little bit of a migraine, so I'm just gonna go back to laying down." I didn't hear any response. I turned around and the living room was pitch black. Now, oftentimes, if my stepmom was in there, she would have a little light on while she was knitting. It wasn't a huge light, so it wouldn't light up the whole room and like wake her back up or anything. Just teeny tiny little light, or I would see the light from her phone reflecting off of her face. I would be able to see her in some way or another, and there was just nothing or nobody over there. So I looked over, and I didn't see her there. Kind of squinted, was like, maybe I just can't see. She didn't say anything back, that was weird. And then I look over at their door right off the living room, and it's closed, which means they have gone to bed. Not knowing what that was, I hardly packed up my things, put them in the fridge, and I went to bed and I closed my door. Whatever, that was super polite to ask me if I was okay, though. That was... Not everybody does that. That wasn't the only instance that I heard my stepmom's voice specifically. For some reason, it was always her voice. It was always her. It was never my dad. It was never anybody else. It wasn't the cats. It was just her for whatever reason. But I have a couple more stories from within that house that weren't whatever the mimic was. I have a video game that I am working on. Once again, you can find that in the account that I've tagged below. That is particularly haunted, and I'm still not sure why. As well as some other weird things that my dad experienced in that house. Anyways, thank you for listening to my mimic story, and I will talk to you guys in another video. Bye!